Hello everyone, welcome to InvisibleCoder YouTube channel. So in this channel we started a new course called Python programming. So this channel will helps you to improve your coding skills in Python. I hope after this course you will become a very good Python programmers. Okay, so let's start the Python programming. Before understanding what is a Python programming, we'll talk about something. So if you observe that we have a Google Assistant. So Google Assistant is mainly used for what? Communication with the Google, right? Whenever we are using Google, we're going to use the Google Assistant for any requirements. The same way consider the robot. So robot will perform whatever the tasks we are going to assign. So the same way the Cortana. So these are all the something they're going to happens incredibly, right? So these are all what are these things, how these things are works. Okay, so these are all the systems or whatever the materials, so they're going to works based on the one technique called programming. Okay, so then what is the programming then? So programming is nothing but, so it's a set of rules, or we can say set of instruction. So the set of instruction that are given to a system to perform something, and it's going to produce what? It's going to produce a output. So that is what we called as a programming. Okay, think that it's a formal language, nothing but it's a language where we are going to give the instruction for the system to provide some outputs, right? So that is how we called as a programming. So example, where you communicate with the two person, what happened? So there will be a language required, right? Whether it's a Kannada, English, whatever it may be. So based on that language only, they're going to communicate. Same way, the system and the user, they're going to communicate with the one language called as programming language. Okay, so in this course, we're going to discuss about the language called Python. Okay, so we have so many Python programming language like a Java, C++, C Sharp. So, but in this course, we'll mainly talk about the Python programming language. Okay, so before understanding about what is Python, what is the history of Python, how Python is developed, how Python is using. So before that, we'll understand something called about how system will works the internally. Okay, now think we have a monitor. So in this monitor only, we're going to write some set of codes. So after writing the set of codes, after sometimes you will get, after execution, you will get the output. Correct, right? How this happens in internally. Okay, how this working will starts in computer. So now we'll understand that first, then the programming is very easy. Okay, now think. So whatever we are going to write in a system, that will be executed by the part called CPU. Okay, CPU is the main part in computer where it's going to execute something that we are going to written in monitor. Now, okay, we are going to write something called in monitor, right? That will be first stored in where? It first stores in hard disk. So why hard disk? Because hard disk, we know hard disk is mainly responsible for permanent storage, right? So example, suddenly if the power off, what happens? We thought that everything get erased. No, so it will stores in hard disk. So hard disk is mainly responsible for the permanent storage. So whatever we are going to write in the monitor, that will be stored in what? Hard disk. So hard disk to CPU, okay, from hard disk to CPU, the transformation of code or whatever the information, it's very slow. Correct, right? But we need faster output. So that's why between these two, so between hard disk to CPU, there is a one more device called RAM. So what is RAM? So RAM is nothing but what? Random access memory, right? So it will takes the information from the hard disk. So after taking the information, it fasterly gives the information to the CPU. So from RAM to CPU, it will takes the information, then CPU will execute that, and it going to produces the output. So this is how the internal mechanism that are happens in computer system. Okay, now here we have a RAM, right? So, okay, in the computer system we have a RAM, but we are talking about Python programming. So Python programming is like we're going to write in normal English only, but the machine only understand nothing but the system will only understand about the binary digits like a zeros and ones. It only understand machine language. But how our Python programming is going to execute in a system. Okay, so let's will discuss about how this will happen. Okay, I told you that is between CPU and the hard disk, we have a RAM, right? For RAM is mainly for temporary storage. So example, the information that's stored in a hard disk that first retrieve to the RAM, then from RAM to CPU, then CPU will execute the code, then it's going to produces the output. This is how the system will works internally, correct, right? So now to execute a Python, so what we need, so to execute a Python programming, we need a one software, right? So we call that software as Python interpreter. Okay, so that is what we call Python interpreter. So this Python interpreter will execute the Python files. Okay, remember, so in Python programming, which will execute the Python files, interpreter will execute the Python files. So what is an interpreter? So interpreter is a software, that is a Python software that executes the Python files. I hope you got the clarity about how Python will execute in our system. Okay, now we'll discuss about what is Python. Python is a popular programming language. As we know, Python is a very famous language nowadays because of its inbuilt libraries. So, we were compared to Java, C++, C. So, Python is a popular language. Why? Because Python is responsible for these things like a web development, software scripting, software development, so machine learning and data science, and also AI. Okay, and also responsible for AI, artificial intelligence. So these are all the some applications why Python is more popular. So Python is created by what? So Python is created by Guido van Rossum. Okay, he was the father of Python. We can say the father of Python is Guido van Rossum. He created the Python, and the Python was firstly created. Remember, the Python was first created in 1989, but their release means their version will release at 1991. Why? Because so some of the Python version they don't consist of the functions. Okay, so that's why their version is released in 1991. Okay, so which is the first version that released? Remember, the first version of Python is 0.9. So this is the first version of Python that released. But now the recent version is what? 3.12 is the recent version of Python. Okay, so Python is the more popular language in all the programming language. So now I'm telling that Python is a more popular language, right? So why Python is more popular language? First reason why Python is more popular is because of its easy syntax. Okay, so because of its easy syntax. What is syntax? See, syntax is nothing but it is a the rule to write a code. That's it. Okay, syntax is nothing but it's a rule to write a code. Example, in English we are going to write one sentence. No, so it should be have a grammatically correct, right? The same way, whatever the code we are going to write, it should follows the syntax. So here it is easy syntax. Example, now if I consider Java code, we are going to write like a Java or C++. First, we're going to take a one variable that we are going to assign with int a. Then we need to give a semicolon. Then after that, we're going to use the flower brackets. Then we're going to write the set of codes inside this curly braces. Correct, right? But in Python, we're going to write this whole thing as simply like, so like example, print a. Okay, so this is how we are going to write in Python instead of like this. Okay, so that's why Python will follow the easy syntax compared to other programming language. You don't worry about the syntax, so you will understand by upcoming classes. Okay, the next reason why Python is more popular is because of its inbuilt functions. Because of its inbuilt functions, or we can say inbuilt methods. What are these functions? Don't worry, we'll discuss later. So inbuilt functions are nothing but it consists so many things. Example, so whenever we are going to take an example, I will take a one word. So Python, this is the one word. I'm going to give a task like, so you need to find out how many letters are there in this particular word. So you will say it is a 6, but how system will understand? So in other programming, we're going to calculate one by one, but in Python, we're going to use the length function. So likewise, we have so many inbuilt function. By using this inbuilt function, we can easily identify the particular task. Okay, so that is the one important. And also one of the major reason why Python is more popular is because of oops. So what is OOPS? OOPS are nothing but it's a object-oriented programming concept. So where it going to consist of class, objects, everything. So don't worry about what is OOPS. So understand why Python follows the OOPS. So OOPS nothing but it consists of many functionality. Okay, that's it. Okay, so OOPS are responsible for the more functionality in a programming. Example, now think if you open your Instagram account, so what happened? So we're going to scroll the reels, right? Every time we'll get the same reels, no, right? We'll get different reels, and if the scrolling will stop, no, correct, no. So the scrolling will never stop, correct. So the same way, so the reels are coming continuously. So OOPS are responsible for these functionalities. So we'll discuss later that in OOPS concept. So it follows the OOPS. So that's why Python is more popular. Okay. And it's an easy syntax. As I said, it's a simple language. We can easily understand. Anybody can understand the Pythonic language because it follows simple English language. Okay. So anyone can write the Python code and they can easily understand. Okay. So that is the main importance. Okay. So these are the some reason why Python is more popular. We have so many reasons, but main reasons. Okay. I hope all of you understand why Python is more popular in programming language. I told the Python is executed by whom? The Python is executed by the software called interpreter. Correct? No. So what is this interpret? See, we have in other programming language, we have one more software called compiler. Take an example in Java or C, we have a compiler. So then what is the difference between this interpreter and compiler? See, interpreter is nothing but, so the software which executes line by line. Okay. It's execute line by line. Nothing but, if I take an example, I will take one example, x equals to 10, y equals to 20, then print x, print x plus y. What will be the output? So yes, obviously the output will be 30. How? Because x is 10, y is 20. So 10 plus 20 is 30. Correct, right? So it execute line by. First it will go to the x, first line. Then it assign the 10 value to the x. Then it will move to the second line. It will assign the 20 to y. Then come to the third line, it understood it need to print the value of x plus y. So what is the value of x plus y? Value of x plus y is 30. So it executes line by line. But the compiler is nothing but it executes group of code. Okay, it execute group of code. Okay, so once it will execute all the codes, it not execute line by line, it execute all the codes every time. Yes, obviously interpreter is slower compared to compiler. Compiler is very faster, but interpreter is slower. But interpreter will execute line by line, but compiler will execute once. After compilation, so it will move to the run. But in interpreter, execution and run will happen at a time. Okay, but in compiler, it will first compile it, then after it will execute. But in interpreter, compilation and execution will happen at a time. So that is the major difference between interpreter and compiler. Okay, yes. See, to write Python programming in our system, we need Python software. Without Python software, we can't write the Python code, right? So how to check whether this Python is available or not in our system? So go to the search, type CMD, that is command prompt. So press enter. Now see. So this is the command prompt, how it will look like. See, in this, simply type Python. Okay, so simply type Python, press enter. Now I have Python, so that's why it's showing Python 3.9.8. So that's the older version, don't worry. So if you don't have Python in your system, it will shows there is no Python. Okay, so then how to download the Python in our system? So we'll move to the installation. Now go to your browser, so any browser. So then type Python download. Okay, so Python download for Windows. Now, so go to the first link. So the first one, the first link that appears in top. So go to the link, go to the first link. Now see here we get a Python to 3. Here we have a Python 3.12.5. This is a new version. Now we need to first identify our system, whether our OS is Windows, Linux, Mac or others. Okay, so simply go to the Windows. So in Windows, we need to download the Python, right? So which is our new version, that is 3.12.5. This is the new version of Python. Now simply click on Windows Downloader. So now see whether it based on your system requirement, whether it's a 64-bit or 32-bit. So based on that, you can download. So I have a 64-bit system, so that's why I will download the Windows installer, that is 34-bit. Now see the Python is downloaded. Okay, now so after this downloaded, so simply go to the Python downloader. So this one will get. Okay, so when you open that downloaded file, you will get this dashboard. Okay, clear? Now, so how to install? See, here you will get this one now. So install Python 3.12.5. So now see, before kicking to the install now, you need to add Python to our path. So if you don't add this one, if you don't click this checkbox, what will happen? In future, we'll get some errors. We can't debug that error. So that's why, so simply click on the add Python file to path. Okay. So after that, click on install. It will ask the permission. So after that, it will going to download the system. So based on your internet speed, it's going to take some time. Let's wait. So I will pause the video here. Now see, after downloaded, so it will give the message setup was successful. So after this, simply close this. Now how to check whether the Python is present or not? So again, go to the same thing. So go to the CMD. Now just type Python. So you will get, see, Python 3.12.5. So this is the version we have. Okay, so we have one more way to identify what version we have. So that's one. So simply type Python hyphen version. Okay, so then click it. So this is the version we have in our system. So that is 3.12.5. Okay, so this is the command to check the Python version. So Python hyphen version. So this command will helps you to check the Python version. Okay, now I'm simply type Python. Now see here, observe this. This is the path where I have in C drive, in user, then again user, I'm got to the Python. Now after that, we got the 3 lines, correct? No. So this indicate we enters to the Python code. Now I will type example print hi. Okay. So then what output will give? It will give hi. So how it will execute, why I use the quotes, double quotes. So don't worry about this. We'll discuss in the coming class. So this is simple how. See, print hi. So it's going to give hi. So this is how the Python will execute. So same way if I give 2 plus 5, what it going to give? It's going to give 7. That's it. So the Python is a very simple. It can easily understand. So it can easily execute in our system. Okay. Now, so we install the Python. Correct? No. So now after installation, you need to check where our Python is present. Now, simply go to this search bar. So type Python. Now see. So after typing Python, so don't worry because I downloaded twice because I have 3.9 as well as 3.12. So simply go to the 3.12. 1 minute. Okay. We'll type. So go to this Windows, then type Python Now see. So in Python, what and all we have? So we have a Python IDLE. Okay, IDLE is nothing but integrated development environment. Okay, so integrated development environment means we can use that also to write the Python codes, as well as we have a this is a Python software. Okay, so this is the Python software. So if I click, see, this is also a Python programming. So now see, I will going to write the Python code print. Hi, welcome to Python class. Okay, so now see, after this I will simply press enter. Now it's going to give hi, welcome to Python class. So there's a very easy syntax you can easily write. So now if you want to write a one more new file, means go to the file, then check new file, then it will opens new file. Now I'm going to write the same code, print hi, welcome to Invisible Coder. Now, so I write, but if I press enter, it will never gives output. Why? Because it's a file. It's not a Python, right? So first we need to save this file. So go to file, then save it. Okay, save as. See, this is a Python files. You need to give a name. So take an example, sample. Okay, uh, I will save in desktop. So sample. So click save. After I save the file, so it look like this, so simply click on run. So run module. So now it's going to give the same output. I welcome to Invisible Coder. So now see the path. Okay, so now see the path. So where we have the Python file in C drive, in the user, again in the user folder, and okay, don't worry, this is my path. Okay, OneDrive. Then in desktop I saved as what, sample. So and remember the Python file extension is .py. Okay, so this is how the Python ideally we use. Okay, so now I hope how the installation happens, it's clear. Yes. Now so see, okay, so now we install the Python, but we can't write. Python is mainly what? So the Python is mainly used for the development purpose, right? So we have a front end, back end, everything. So we can't write in ideally, or we can't write in command prompt. So we need some softwares, correct, right? We need some front end, back end connectivity codes. So that's for that we're going to download, or we're going to use the one particular IDE is called as PyCharm. So we have so many ideally for a Python programming like a PyCharm, Anaconda software. Then you can use a PySquader, okay, VS Code. We can also use VS Code. Then we also use Visual Studio. So and one more is Jupyter. So one more is Jupyter. So like we have so many IDE, but most of the programmers will uses the PyCharm for execution. Why? Because PyCharm is a very easy to handle. Okay, so this VS Code and Visual Studio also use, but the PyCharm is mainly used, and Jupyter is mainly used for the data science. Okay, for machine learning and AI. So they're going to use the Jupyter, but we in this tutorial will mainly use the PyCharm application. So then how to download the PyCharm application. Okay, I'll show you how to download the PyCharm application. Here, type PyCharm download. Click on the first link. Now, in PyCharm, we have two releases. So what is that? So one is Python Professional, another one is Python Community. So don't download this one. Why? Because so see here it is only for 30 days. After 30 days, it for 30 days it's free. After 30 days you need to pay some amount because it's a paid one, means it's a premium one. But coming down, so this is the Python community edition, so this is a free, so it's a open source. Okay, it's a open source, we're never going to pay anything. So simply, and here you need to select the type of OS. Okay, so we have a Windows, then click on download button, so it's going to start the download. So see, thanks for download, so it's going to start the downloading. So see here, it's going to start the downloading. So it is, so nearly it's have a 455 MB. So I will stop it. Why? Because I already have a Python. So that's why I'm not going to download again. Okay. So after downloading, so you need to follow the screen instructions in the Python. Okay. So I will show you how the Python will look like. So this is C. So this is the Python. Now, so this is the Python will look like. So after downloading, so it will opens the Python. After downloading, open the Python software. So now see the Python. Okay, 1 minute. So just I will close this file. Okay, now so don't worry. So when you start first installing the Python, will never show this thing because I have some project. So but after installing here it's an empty space. Okay, there will be no any files. Okay, so this is how the Python environment is look like. So simply click on new project, then you need to give the Python project name. So take an example sample, then don't click anything because it's already inbuilt, and this is the file where you need to have. So here I have a Python version, so I have two version. No, so one is Python 3.9, and the one is Python 3.12, correct? No, so simply click on create. So now it's going to create a Python file. Okay, so it's going to create a Python file. Now this is how the Python environment will look like. Okay, so don't worry what is this lib script, then dot vnev, so we'll explain later. So now you first understand how to download the Python and Python IDE to execute the Python code. Okay, so simply close it. So I hope how to download the Python and Python is understood. So in the next class we'll discuss about the how to run the Python. Okay, so I hope this video helps you. So in the next class, first you need to download the Python and Python in your system, then go for the next video. Okay, so thank you, happy learning.